Hello students, today's demonstration topic is muscle. The word muscle is derived from the Latin word that is mus. Mus means mouse. Many of the muscles in the human body resembles like a mouse and their tendon represents the tail of mouse. Now you can see here the dissected cadaver. What is the general layout of the arrangement of the structure within the body? That is first layer, that is skin, second is superficial fascia, third one is deep muscle, deep fascia. Beneath the deep fascia, there is muscles. In between the muscles, there is arrangement of neurovascular bundles and lymphatics. Beneath the muscle, there is skeletal system or skeletal tissue in the form of bones. Here, you can see the dissected cadaver and this is the upper limb. You can see this is the arm part of the upper limb and this is the muscle. The name of this muscle is biceps brachii. Now, what are the parts of the muscle? That is two parts. One is fleshy part and another is fibrous part. Fleshy part of the muscle which is contractile in nature and it is also called as belly. It is highly vascular part of the muscle. Another part that is called as fibrous part. Fibrous part, you can see it appears like a cord-like or rope-like. That fibrous part that is non-contractile in nature and it is non-elastic. So this part, non-contractile, non-elastic part of the muscle that is called as tendon. And when this tendon is flattened, this is the tendon, non-elastic, non-contractile part of the muscle. When it is flattened, then it is called as aponeurosis. Now you know the muscle is a contractile tissue and this muscle is attached to the bone by means of connective tissue. Now muscle has two ends. As muscle is contractile tissue, the end of the muscle which remain fixed during the contraction, that end of the muscle is called as origin of the muscle. And the end of the muscle which moves during the contraction, that end of the muscle is called as insertion of the muscle. So you can see this is the biceps brachii muscle. So the in upper end, this is the origin which remain fixed during the contraction, and the lower end, this is the insertion which moves during the contraction. In case of limb muscles, usually origin lies proximally and insertion lies distally. However, these terms are interchangeable according to the movements of the muscle. Now, muscles can be classified into three types. They are skeletal muscle. You can see they are named as a skeletal muscle because they are attached to the skeletal tissue. Other synonyms of the skeletal muscles are striated muscle, stripped muscle, voluntary muscle, or somatic muscles. The another classification, that is the cardiac muscle. So you can see this is the thoracic cage and I am opening this thoracic cage and this is the heart. So cardiac muscles are located within the heart. These cardiac muscles shows the status intermediate between the skeletal muscle and smooth muscle because they are striated but they are supplied by the autonomic nerves. Here, this is the area showing the abdominal cavity. I am opening the abdominal cavity and the third type, smooth muscles, or unstripped muscle or plain muscles are present in the hollow viscera or within the blood vessels. So you can see the larger blood vessels within the body. This one is the abdominal aorta and inferior vena cava. So smooth muscles are present in the hollow viscera. So they are present in the abdominal aorta, means blood vessels. You can see this is the part of ureter. So abdominal blood vessels, smooth muscles are also present into the ureter. This is the part of urinary bladder. This is the area of pelvic cavity. So smooth muscles are also present within the urinary bladder, and also they are present into the digestive tract. Now coming to the classification of skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscles are classified according to color, according to the direction of muscle fiber, and according to the force of action of the muscle. First one, according to color. The skeletal muscles are classified as red muscle and white muscle. Now, what are the characteristics of red muscle? They are called red because in the sarcoplasm of the muscle fiber, they contain more amount of myohemoglobin, and the muscle fibers are surrounded by dense capillary plexus. The red muscles are In the red muscles, the contraction is slow but more sustained. That's why red muscles are not easily get fatigued. The red muscles are examples of postural muscles, and in the upper limb, the example of the red muscle, that is the brachialis. This is the arm, and the deeper muscle, this muscle is the brachialis. So it is situated in the deeper aspect of the body. Okay, now coming to the white muscle. White muscle contains, they are called as white because they contain less amount of myohemoglobin in their sarcoplasm, and their contraction is very fast and less sustained, so they are easily fatigued. They are situated in the superficial aspect of the body. Example of the white muscle within the body, here in the upper limb, this is the biceps brachii. That is the example of white muscle. Coming to the lower limb. In the lower limb, the examples of red and white muscle that are, see, this is the lower limb and this is the leg part. This is the leg of the lower limb and posterior aspect of the leg, that is called as calf. In the calf, there are two muscles, one superficial muscle that is called as gastrocnemius muscle. This is the gastrocnemius muscle, and deeper to the gastrocnemius, this muscle is the soleus muscle. So soleus muscle is the example of red muscle as it is situated deeply, and the gastrocnemius is the example of white muscle. Now coming to the next classification, that is according to the direction of muscle fiber or muscle fasciculi. Now what is fasciculus? It is the bundle of muscle fiber. Now according to this classification, muscle can be classified as parallel muscle, pinnate muscle, spiral or twisted muscle, and cruciate muscle. First is parallel muscle. In parallel muscle, the muscle fibers are arranged parallel to the line of pull. You can see this is the front of thigh of the lower limb. You can see this muscle is the sartorius. So here the muscle fibers are arranged parallel to the line of pull. Here the length of the muscle fiber is more and number of the muscle fibers are relatively less. It is the longest muscle of the body. Now, due to the length of the muscle fibers are more, the range of the movement is more. But due to less number of the fibers, force of contraction is less. So you can see the sartorius muscle. Now there are subtypes in the parallel muscle, or parallel muscle can be a strap-like. Example is sartorius muscle. You can see this is the strap-like muscle, sartorius. Okay. Second is the muscle strap-like with tendinous intersection. The example is rectus abdominis muscle. Rectus abdominis muscle is the muscle of anterior abdominal wall. The rectus means straight. So you can see this is the rectus abdominis muscle of both sides. And you can see in between these are the tendinous intersection. Another is the quadrate line. The example is quadratus lumborum. This muscle is situated in the posterior abdominal wall. Third one is fusiform. So, example of fusiform muscle, that is the biceps brachii muscle. So, you can see this is the biceps brachii muscle. Now, pinnate muscle. What is the meaning of pinnate? Feather-like. These are the disarticulated upper limb. This is the upper limb and lower limb. Now, what is pinnate muscle? In pinnate muscle, muscle fibers are obliquely arranged along the line of pull. So, here the number of muscle fibers are more and length of the muscle fibers are short. Due to the more number of muscle fibers, the force of contraction is more. The pinnate muscle or muscle fibers are classified as unipinnate, bipinnate, multipinnate and circumpinnate. Now, unipinnate muscle. So this is the disarticulated upper limb. You can see this is the forearm part of the upper limb. And one of the muscle of the forearm, that is the deep muscle of the forearm, that is the flexor pollicis longus muscle. You can see this muscle. So flexor pollicis longus, as name suggests, it is the muscle of the flexor compartment going towards the thumb. Here in the unipinnate muscle, the muscle fibers are sloping towards the peripherally placed or at the one margin of the muscle placed tendon. So this is the tendon of the muscle and these are the sloping fibers going towards the tendon. So appearance of the this muscle, that is like a half feather. So this is the example of unipinnate muscle. Another example of the unipinnate muscle are extensor digitorum longus and peroneus tertius. So you can see this is the disarticulated lower limb. This part is the leg and these two muscles are the muscles of front of leg. So you can see this muscle. This is the extensor digitorum longus. So you can see the at the one side of the muscle you can see the tendon and muscle fibers are sloping towards the tendon. So appearance is like a half feather. Extensor digitorum longus muscle and this muscle is peroneus tertius. Example of unipinnate muscle. Now bipinnate muscle. So one of the example of bipinnate muscle, that is the rectus femoris muscle, which is the muscle of thigh. This is the front of thigh. Rectus femoris muscle is the muscle of front of thigh. So in bipinnate muscle, what happens? The tendon develops in the central axis of the muscle and muscle fiber slopes towards the centrally placed tendon. So example is rectus femoris muscle. So you can see this is the rectus femoris muscle, example of bipinnate muscle, centrally placed tendon, and the muscle fibers are sloping towards the central axis or tendon of the muscle. Other examples are dorsal interossei of hand and foot. You can see this is the dorsal surface of the hand, and the dorsal interossei situated between the two metacarpals. So you can see here this is the dorsal interossei. This now multipinnate muscle. One of the example of multipinnate muscle is acromial fibers of deltoid muscle. See, this is the shoulder region of upper limb, and you can see this is the triangular or delta shape, the deltoid muscle. So what is the multipinnate muscle or multipinnate arrangement? Series of bipinnate lies in the one plane. So these are the acromial fibers of deltoid muscle, particularly this region. So it is the example of multipinnate muscle. Another example of multipinnate muscle is subscapularis muscle. Now next is circumpinnate muscle. One of the example of circumpinnate muscle is the tibialis anterior muscle. See, this is the lower limb and this is the front of leg. So tibialis anterior muscle is the muscle of front of leg. What is the arrangement of muscle fibers in the circumpinnate muscle? The muscle is cylindrical in shape. You can see the muscle shape of the muscle. Muscle is cylindrical in shape and tendon develops in the central axis of muscle, and muscle fibers converge from the all sides towards the centrally placed tendon. So one of the example of circumpinnate muscle is tibialis anterior. This is the tibialis anterior muscle, and it is most commonly asked objective question example of circumpinnate muscle. That is, now next is spiral or twisted muscle. Examples of this type of muscles are pectoralis major muscle and supinator muscle. See, this is the pectoral region of upper limb. This pectoralis major muscle is the muscle of pectoral region. You can see in the spiral or twisted muscle, the muscle fibers are twisted near their insertion. So these muscle fibers of pectoralis major are twisted or spiral at their insertion in the bicipital groove of humerus. Next is supinator. Supinator muscle is the one of the muscle of deep muscles of extensor compartment of forearm. You can see this muscle. This is the supinator muscle, and spiral arrangement of the muscle fibers in the supinator helps in the rotatory movements of the radius. Next is cruciate muscle. In cruciate muscle, the fibers are arranged in the two layers, superficial layer and deep layer. Superficial and deep layer muscle fibers cross like a X, and you can see the examples of cruciate muscles are masseter muscle, which is the muscle of mastication, and another example is sternocleidomastoid muscle. So you can see superficial and deep fibers of sternocleidomastoid muscle crosses like a X. So they are the example of cruciate muscles. Next classification is according to the mode of force of action of the muscle. Muscle can be classified as spurt muscle and shunt muscle. In a simple joint, out of two bones, one bone is more mobile than that of another bone. When muscle acts on a joint, it exerts a force on the joint, and that force can be divided into two components. One component is the swing component and another component is the shunt component. Now, out of this, swing component helps in the angular movement of the joint, and shunt component is transarticular and it draws the bone along the shaft towards the joint and helps in the compression of articular surfaces. Out of these two components,
When swing component is
more powerful then the muscle is called as spurt muscle, and when shunt component is more powerful then the muscle is called as shunt muscle. There are two examples of this spurt muscle is the spurt muscle example is brachialis muscle. See, this is the brachialis muscle, which is a muscle of front of arm. You can see. So, in brachialis muscle or in a spurt muscle, this brachialis muscle acts on the elbow joint. So, here origin of this muscle in the brachialis muscle is in the shaft of humerus. So, origin is away from the joint and insertion of the brachialis muscle is near the joint. In shunt muscle, example of the shunt muscle is brachioradialis muscle. You can see this muscle. This is the brachioradialis muscle. So, origin of the brachioradialis muscle is in the humerus. It acts on the elbow joint. So, origin in case of shunt muscle is nearer the joint and insertion of the shunt muscle is away from the joint. So, the spurt muscle helps in the angular movement of the joint and shunt muscle is the transarticular and it compresses the articular surfaces of the joint. Nomenclature of the muscles. Muscles can be named in number of ways. First is according to their shape. Examples are trapezius, which is trapezoid in shape, rhomboidus, which is rhomboid in shape, and latissimus dorsi. These are the muscles situated in the back region. Next is according to number of heads of origin. Examples are biceps and triceps. See, this is the front of arm. This muscle is the biceps brachii muscle. Bi means two and ceps means head. So you can see the two heads of biceps brachii muscle. Triceps brachii muscle is situated in the back of arm. Next is according to their gross structure. They are semitendinosus and semimembranosus. These two muscles are muscles of back of thigh. Semitendinosus appears like a rope or cord and membranosus appears like a membrane. Next is according to their location. So example is temporalis muscle. So this is the head region and this is the temporal region of head, and muscle situated in the temporal region is called as temporalis muscle. Next is according to their attachment. So how the muscle is attached to the bone, the muscle is named. This is the sternothyroid muscle. You can see. So this is the sternum bone and this is the thyroid cartilage. So muscle attached to the sternum and thyroid cartilage, that muscle is called as sternothyroid. Then next classification is according to their action. So muscle is situated in the flexor compartment of forearm, helps in the flexion of forearm. They are called as flexor digitorum superficialis and profundus. Muscles situated in the extensor compartment of forearm, they are called as extensor digitorum, extensor carpi ulnaris likewise. Then next is according to direction of their fibers. They are rectus abdominis and orbicularis oculi. So you can see this is the anterior abdominal wall and you can see this muscle is rectus abdominis. Again rectus means straight. So the muscle fibers, direction of the muscle fibers, that is straight with tendinous intersection. This is the rectus abdominis and orbicularis oculi. The muscle fibers are circularly arranged around the orifice of the eye. So surrounding the eye, that muscle is called as orbicularis oculi. And similarly, the muscle situated around the orifice of mouth, that is called as orbicularis oris. Then muscle with two bellies with intervening tendon is called as digastric muscle. So here this is the submandibular region and you can see this muscle, this is the digastric muscle. So you can see the two belly, this is the one belly, this one is the another belly. Between these two belly you can see the intervening tendon. So muscle with two belly with intervening tendon, that muscle is called as digastric muscle.